So what you're saying is,
If
it's
you're like,
less.
man, you got a skinny wiener. I'd be like,
Listen,
thank you.
I know you used to have an overweight
Thank you.
wiener.
Right.
It's in shape now.
Look at
So
it.
that's a compliment.
It looks fit.
Yeah.
Far from the everyday world, there is a place where big
Congratulations, Mr. Sims. You're the fattest boy in camp.
is beautiful
Chipmunks, download!
and thin isn't it.
This is definitely not sanitary.
For Jerry and his friends, it was a dream come true until the new owner
That is out of here, mister!
Oh no.
turned it into a nightmare.
Lunch has been canceled today due to lack of hustle.
Now, after 6 weeks of frustration,
Then we're gonna climb that 1,000-foot rock face over there.
starvation,
There isn't a gummy bear left in this entire camp.
and humiliation,
Nice swing, you fat tubbo.
Everyone having fun?
Jerry's out to do something far more important than lose a few pounds.
I have a plan.
He's out to gain respect.
What is going on?
You can't kidnap the owner of a camp.
Welcome to the annual Apache Relay.
We're as good as anybody. And it's about time we started acting that way.
Take him down, Cappy.
Walt Disney Pictures presents a comedy for every kid.
Tell me the artist and title, please.
Cher?
Da Vinci's Mona Lisa.
Tired of taking it.
I'm so slow. It would have been cool to go fast.
And ready to dish it out. Heavyweights.
I want to start a little different way this time. Maybe with a segment that could carry on possibly or not.
Okay.
Expectation versus reality. Going into this movie, what did you expect? In terms of, do you think you would have liked it?
I thought it was going to be a lot more cringy than it ended up being.
100%.
I was
100% agree with
bracing
you.
for the worst of the worst, and I was pleasantly surprised, except for minute 37, which I texted you about, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst thing you could put in a kid's movie and get away with it. Other than that,
I think
I dug it.
I think I was scarred from Blank Check. I went into Blank Check going, this is going to be great, and was like, no, the whole time. And this, I was like, this is going to be rough. And it actually, there are arguments against it, and we'll get into them, but I was much more pleasantly surprised with this than I expected to be.
My only gripe with the movie is I think it's an hour 37.
Mm-hmm.
I seriously think it took me at least 3, probably closer to 4 hours to actually watch it, because every 30 seconds I'm like, writing a note down. Like 5 seconds later, like another one.
Okay.
It was just unreal how many little things that I noticed that I don't think I noticed before.
Okay.
That when you're watching it to critique it and not just enjoy it.
Right.
There's a lot
See with
there.
different eyes.
I have more notes than I've ever taken on any movie I've ever watched in my life.
Well, and when you said you had 3 pages of notes, my assumption was, he absolutely despises this movie if he has that many notes.
It's just things that don't make sense, things I like.
Sure.
And stuff that blew me away.
Okay. All right, well, let's start with taglines and plots.
Get into it.
I found a few. I found multiple.
Same.
The first one being, I'll read the first, and you can take your next one. Plump kids.
Yes, that's the one I saw. I loved it. What a great opening adjective.
Plump kids are lured into joining a posh fat camp with the promise of quick weight loss and good times, only to find that the facility is a woodland hellhole run by a psycho ex-fitness instructor. That sounds so light at the beginning and then a scary movie by the end.
I couldn't even think of a way to describe it poorly.
I was going to say, what is your plot done poorly?
That did the trick. That's what I put down.
Yeah, I came up with a plot done poorly for you.
Okay.
Ben Stiller stars in this Ben Stiller vehicle where Ben Stiller teaches the kids that exercise is key.
Okay, I don't know if you're trying to poke fun.
We need to preface this whole thing with Jim is not a fan of Ben Stiller.
I will get into why. Unless you want to just dive in now?
That's up to you. I leave the floor is open.
Okay, this is my problem. Actually, the good thing about this movie is that I think two of my most overrated actors are in the same movie.
Who's the other?
Ben Stiller, Kenan Thompson.
Oh, that's right. I thought you were going to say Ben Stiller and Ben Stiller because
And
they played
Ben
two parts.
So
but
let
Kenan
me.
Thompson's so like in the background. Like he.
And I will say this about Kenan Thompson. I just haven't seen anything that I thought he was funny in. It's like Mad TV for me. Mm-hmm. If you're like, it's hilarious, be like, great, show me an example. Got it. I'm not anti Kenan.
Yeah. You're just not pro.
Yeah. I'm kind of like Switzerland. Yeah. Like, show me a good Kenan clip or episode or something, and I'm in.
You're like Daniel Day-Lewis. You're lukewarm. I spit you out.
That's how it goes. But with Ben Stiller, we have our. So here's my problem with him. Mm-hmm. If I may.
Yeah, you may.
So obviously he's one of my least favorite characters in the movie, and this is the reason why. Mm-hmm. If he is a protagonist, he is slightly quirky and innocent. Mm-hmm. Like, there's something about Mary, Night at the Museum, Meet the Parents.
Sure.
If he is the antagonist, he is super quirky and insane. Mm-hmm. Like this, Dodgeball, Zoolander, Happy Gilmore.
Sure.
It's the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Yes. Yeah. And it's either slightly quirky or super quirky.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just done.
Lanes.
I'm done.
I've seen both sides of you enough times to know what's coming.
And we're jumping way ahead.
Yeah.
But at the end, when Tony jumps out and he's on a ledge, mm-hmm. and he says, "Oh, the villain from the video was a bit over the top." I'm like,
two on the nose. He broke the
fourth
wall. Yeah, that's what I said.
That's breaking the fourth wall completely. You are describing you in every movie for the next 15 years, pal.
Little did you know, he was predicting his future. Listen, you manifest it. You put it out there, and he did.
Well,
and
congrats. You knocked it out of the park. Way to go, Ben.
All right, so our first tagline plot was the Plump Kids. Next, so these are more, that sounds more like plot. This is more tagline. They never met a hot dog they didn't like until now.
I saw that too, because isn't that on the cover of the movie?
Yeah, I think those are the taglines, yeah.
I don't get that.
Yeah. No,
But
I think
Tony's the hot dog?
He's the hot dog.
Okay.
It's a little, it's a little bit of a stretch. But then the final one I saw was, they don't run the fastest, they don't jump the highest, but they sure are getting the last laugh, which I think is a little more innocent. The other ones are just like, fat kids are doing fat stuff.
Right.
This is like kids. This is more about kids.
Look at how much these kids eat.
Yeah. So my expectation, agreed. My expectation, I went in thinking it was going to be a big cringe, and it wasn't for me.
No.
So 1995.
Yep.
PG.
Yep.
Which, a couple of dams, a couple of asses. Otherwise, clear for the swears.
Yeah, and I have later on in Trivia and Facts.
Okay.
There's some things that were different.
I can't wait.
And they had to kid it down. So
I cannot wait for you to tell me the joke that I think you're about to tell me.
Yes.
I could not for the life of me find a budget for this movie. I scoured the internet. I found that it grossed. Did you see what it grossed? Less
than 18 mil.
Yeah, which of the movies we've done is the lowest.
Yeah.
Not by a ton. I think another one was like a 20 million, but yeah, that.
I think this was one of those movies that when it came out, people hated it.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't even a DVD movie, so a VHS movie that people were like, we're buying this.
Yeah.
It just became like a cult classic that people loved.
Yeah, and even the ratings, 29% Rotten Tomatoes, 6.7 out of 10 of IMDb.
Yeah.
But then when I started getting into reviews are all over the place for liking and not liking this movie. There was no official Siskel or Ebert like on paper, but they had a show, and there's a snippet from the show of them doing this movie. And here's their quote. Gene Siskel says, "Unfortunately, there's a blown opportunity to deal with the issue of overweight children, which is a big issue and a lot of pain associated with these kids. The movie doesn't have the courage to do that either." Ebert responds, "That's right, Gene. Maybe if you had been able to see that movie, you wouldn't make fun of me all the time for being fat."
Oh.
And Gene says, "Roger, if you don't want me to, it'll never happen again." So I don't know if that's like a genuine like fight they're having, or if that's a little bit of like
just
a play.
in jest.
Yeah.
Did you see there was one critic, Stephen Holden of the New York Times? Did you see his review?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. "Heavyweights is really two movies in one, and they don't mesh. One movie is a no-holds-barred spoof of a Tony Little or Susan Powter-style fitness merchant in which maniacal perkiness is equated with uncontrollable rage. The other movie is a conventional family comedy that pokes lighthearted fun at the chubby young campers. I don't disagree,
Right.
but I think it fuses together pretty darn well.
And that's what I thought. I was like, I can see, this isn't like Full Metal Jacket where literally it feels like two actually separate movies. This is like, I understand there are two parts to this movie, but I never felt like, what's this whole other thing?
Right.
Like it blended pretty well.
Well, and right out of the gates, you have Jerry running home from school, and they're like, his last day of school, he walks in the door, and they're like, guess what? You're going to fat camp.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it gets right into it.
Right. One of the other couple other reviews I saw, Brian Ordorf, when the Blu-ray came out, time has been kind to the discarded Fat Camp movie, finding heavyweights more digestible these days after years spent processing the askew sense of humor shared by Apatow and Company. And then a completely kind of in lockstep, today a comedy featuring the combined prosperous forces of Apatow and Stiller would be a surefire draw at the box office. Despite its flaws, the comicality in Heavyweights does hold up quite well. And so that's kind of where I stood with this movie. I liked this movie, maybe even say loved this movie, but there is an asterisk at the end of that because of, understandably, there's a shitload of fat jokes. So it's like
there's a lot.
almost not as much as I thought. I thought it was going to be even more, but sometimes when it is laying it on thick, it's like, okay.
But they're also mostly poking fun at themselves or like encouraging it.
Right.
The only time it gets rough is with MVP camp, specifically that
the
coach.
catcher when they're playing baseball.
Yeah.
They
Other than that, it's not it's like mostly tongue in cheek or them like being like, hey, what we didn't lose weight. We're eating a bunch of fast food from a stump in the middle of the woods.
And I think there are bad examples of this with movies where it's like, it has nothing to do with the premise and we're just making a joke like to try to get an easy laugh. But some of this is like they're making the bad guys bad. They're having them say this stuff so that they're the villain. Right. And then the kids are going to get back at them. So I kept going back and forth, but ultimately I ended up with liking this movie. But yeah, so that's where I stood.
So this is one thing that I think kind of endears the movie to me and the fans. Mm-hmm. So when you have the bus coming to pick up all the kids with Jerry and whatever, you have Pat who pulls up with the bus and says, "Excuse me, I'm looking for several portly adolescents." Mm-hmm. Like they're poking fun of it right away. Mm-hmm. Even the fact that he says portly adolescents, I thought that was hilarious.
Narrow that down,
And so we're not sugarcoating this. Like, hey, are there some larger kids that want to have fun this summer? Yeah, it's not like you're fat, lose weight. Right, it's who wants to have fun.
Well, that's Tony Perkis. That's where he steps in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's almost like Cartman or other things like, oh, you're not supposed to say that because that's wrong. Right. That's what makes it funny. But they're also, it's just kids wanting to have a good summer. And
right. And you're never laughing at any of those kids. No. At any point in the movie. Like when the other kids make fun of them, you're like on their side of the kids. You're like, screw those kids.
Yeah,
like I hope they get them. Right. So the jokes are never like, to your point, if they're making fun, they're probably poking fun at each other almost to take the air out of the room. Like you can't make fun of me because I'm already making fun of myself, kind of a thing.
I did not realize you brought up the critic talking about Apatow and Stiller and how
Apatow right out the gate, executive produced, written,
and Paul Feig.
Yeah, this
did not know that was Tim.
This cast is stellar,
amazing
from top to bottom. I read one of the little, and you might say this later. I might be getting into it too soon.
Give it to me.
The trivia. There's 4 directors in this movie that had smash hits, and Paul Feig, Judd Apatow, Ben Stiller, and then the chef
Pete Berg.
Yes, he's directed like that,
and he's like in for 5 seconds.
So it's like this from top to bottom. I one of my notes is this absolutely everyone's hitting it out of the park.
It's crazy.
It's so
I wrote down, who would have thought that both writer director or Paul, what was Judd Apatow?
He was written executive produce.
Okay, so him and Paul Feig, who plays Skinny Tim. Who would have thought that those two would go on to, here's what they directed, okay? Freaks and Geeks, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Knocked Up, This Is 40, Funny People, Trainwreck. That's Judd Apatow. And Paul Feig, Freaks and Geeks as well. Arrested Development. He did an episode of Parks and Rec and 30 Rock, which I did not know. He did 15 episodes of The Office and Bridesmaids. Those are like the most influential comedies of the 2000s.
Yeah.
And they just, we did a kids movie in the 90s.
Yeah.
just to see what would happen.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing. Some of these other 90s movies you get into, you may have like one or two people that are funny, and then there's all the rest. But this is like, or like good in the movie, like everyone from top to bottom. There's no one that's like, oh, standing out. Everyone's awesome.
Even the role players in this movie are so good.
Yeah, Paul Feig, I thought he was great. Like
so good.
Yeah, that was one of the notes I had.
Oh, the kids even. Like everyone from top to bottom, like you're saying. You have Jeffrey Tambor as a dad who has like 4 lines.
Yeah.
And still like
every time someone in the movie, I was like, he's in it.
Right.
She's in it. Like,
oh,
it just kept being
them?
people that you're like,
Okay.
I know them. I know them. This is great. Yeah. So right from the beginning, the opening shot, I said, I love a good school's out. The papers are being thrown.
Yep.
You're setting the tone for it's summer. It's time to have fun. Coupled with that, an incredible mullet right off the gate. The high school couple making out.
Oh yeah, making out.
You want just a glorious mullet welcoming you into this feature.
Well, you
film.
got it.
Yeah, and I got it. So right off the bat. Then they drop the Judd Apatow line. So already I'm like, okay, let's keep this thing rolling. Main character's name,
Gerald Gardner.
Thank you, Jerry. Wearing a hockey shirt. I feel like I may be
Islanders.
projecting that we're connecting to Mighty Ducks. Like there's the hockey connection. I feel like, and I don't know if it might just be, we're just doing pop culture stuff, but I was like, it feels like we're throwing it back a little bit there. You get not only Ben Stiller in this movie, you get Jerry Stiller as well,
and his wife,
and an extra Ben Stiller for your liking.
Thank God for that.
Roger Johnson in the beginning, he's the guy. Jerry gets home. There's a guy waiting for him in the living room.
Yep.
Do you know who that was?
I can't think of his name.
His name is Tim Blake Nelson. And what I know him from is Oh Brother Where Art Thou. His name is Delmar in that movie. If you're a fan of that movie, I was like, why do I know him? And then all of a sudden he gave a smile, and I was like, that is what I'm thinking it is. And I looked it up. So that was just another one of these random people in the movie where I was like, look at this cast.
Yeah.
Look at all these people.
I recognized him. I couldn't place where he was from though.
Yeah. So that was just
I knew him from Holes.
Okay, see, I've never seen Holes.
Not the porno. The Shia LaBeouf. The Shia LaBeouf.
Yes.
The Shia
Oh,
LaBeouf
right.
one.
Yeah,
that one.
Sure.
He's in it.
Mm-hmm. But not pulling any punches right out of the gate. I'm not going to the camp with a bunch of fat blobs.
Yep.
Which I kind of skipped past that line to when he absolutely bowls over his dad.
That's one of my favorite lines of the movie.
You're fatter than I am. Why don't you go to the camp?
Boom.
I was like, Jesus, Jerry.
Number one favorite quote of the movie.
Jerry, easy, man. That's your dad. Take it down.
I like that. I wrote down.
And he can punch a guy. We see it later.
That's true. First fat joke of the movie is a minute 34 in, where Jerry's own friend yells, "Go, fat boy, go," when he's chasing the bus.
Yeah.
And so this is my first unanswerable question. How many times do they say the word fat in this movie?
Is this like a guess the M&Ms in a jar kind of thing?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I really wanted to find someone that counted it just so I could be like, all right, Nick, how many? 732. And like, I don't know how many.
Okay.
It has got to be at least 4 or 5.
Yeah. I will say once this, I think it sets it at the beginning. It hits with a lot of that. But there is a point later on once that's kind of all not even there and you're focused, like, we use this as the vehicle to get into the characters. And once I'm just like in the middle of the movie and I'm just focused on the characters and the story, it doesn't even and I think that's the point, is it doesn't even become about any of this stuff. It's just about a bunch of kids who feel out of place at a camp. And I think that if you can get if the fat jokes and that whole focus is bothering you, if you can get through to that point, then it really is just a movie about kids at a camp who don't feel like they belong anywhere. So it's, again, I know people will get stuck. There are going to be people who are like, no, absolutely not. And fine, I see why, but like,
I think it'll be more people though that dig it because it's they're writing their own narrative.
Right, that's true.
And all the role players are so good.
Yeah, that's true.
Josh and
they just got an all-star cast, like between Mighty Ducks and all these other movies.
And so that's one of my trivia questions.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
So Sean Weiss, who plays Josh and Goldberg, he was originally not interested in the film. He changed his mind when he found out that if he didn't act in Heavyweights, he wouldn't be allowed to act in D3. So then he decided, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, that was like, what's happening here?
I don't know.
How often is that happening?
And
where
can you imagine him not being in the movie then?
Yeah.
He's like
or who else?
The hero, other than Jerry, he's like the guy that everyone looks up to.
So instead of saying, listen, we'll just give you some more money, they went the other way and said, we're going to give you less things.
Right.
If you don't do this.
You don't want to do this?
We're essentially blackmailing your career. Yeah, a little rough there. So then we get to camp. Tim pops out of the bus. Immediately he's telling his kids to check out his butt. Easy. I said, easy, Tim. Easy there.
Yeah, calm down.
And I think one of the first things I really enjoyed was when Jerry gets to the camp, he's got the wings pinned on him.
Yes.
And immediately the kids are like, oh, hey, Captain.
Yes.
And I was like, that is 100% what a group of kids would do to another kid.
Yes.
And I kind of expected him to be called Captain throughout the rest of the movie. Because
is it funny? Yes.
Yeah.
Would it happen? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it warranted? Yeah. All above.
Totally. Like kids will just hang on to one thing. Like you wore the wrong, not matching socks. And now your nickname is Socks for 12 years of your life.
Sure.
Like, so I just thoroughly was like ready for him to be called Captain throughout the rest of the movie.
Well, he deserved it.
with those wings, absolutely. The kids do a classic, like, I love this joke where they go in, they unload all their snuck in candy.
Yes.
Perfect. One of the kids bringing in the salamis on his back, which I said was horrifying because it's all sweaty back salamis.
This is one of my least favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Nicholas, the English chap, lifts up his sweater. There's chocolate melted on it. And Philip wipes it off and licks his hand.
Well, he's not even the worst offender.
And says, this is definitely not sanitary. And I couldn't even laugh. I was just mortified at he's actually licking, he's licking chocolate off of his hand that was on this kid's chest.
But he's not even the worst one because then after they all jump on him and then proceed to potentially eat this off of him.
See that?
Yeah, because you're probably like so blown away.
I think my eyes were closed.
Yeah, immediately
like,
after, six kids jumped on him, and then well, your assumption is that they're eating the candy right off of his sweaty body. Yeah, no, that was a rough one. Oh my God. But in a '90s movie with kids, that's to be expected. They're gonna.
I guess at least he uses
that's
hand
the joke.
first.
That's the joke he's gonna make. Yeah, he's the least offender in what's to come after that. And then I said, and then they eat it off of him. So Tony Perkis, we're introduced to Tony.
Oh, good. Let's talk about him.
Good old Tony. And obviously, anyone who watches this movie now, this is just the prelude to Dodgeball. Like, this is just setting up his character.
Yep.
If I had to pick between the two, I'd pick Tony Perkis, but they're pretty much the same character.
Same thing.
At least Tony, I feel like if they're comparing those two characters, I feel like Tony could get his own spin-off. He has a history, like, somebody hurt him. He's been hurt. Like there's times where he's trying to like even come off as like a good person. The other guy from Dodgeball is not. He's through and through. He's shit. So at least Tony, I feel like there's potential. And then eventually at the end, he's selling crystals. He's trying to be better.
I mean, I'm comparing two characters I absolutely hate. So it's the lesser of two turds.
Yeah.
However,
which turd is less of a turd? Or
Tony Perkis at least seems somewhat intelligent, or he's trying.
I mean,
the Dodgeball character just seems like an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
He's playing dodgeball.
Yeah, yeah. I know what I'm asking of you here, but I'm just.
I can't. It's making me gassy and.
All right. We'll keep it moving.
Thank you.
But I did love when Tony leaves that first scene and no one high fives him except the last one high five. Is great.
That is fun.
So even if you don't like Ben Stiller, for all the Ben Stiller haters out there,
and I don't,
and we have one in the room, there are scenes in. There are scenes in the movie that he's in that you will enjoy.
Prove it.
We just had one. So then they go. So one of the first jokes outside of all the poking fun and all the fat jokes I laughed at was the I don't know if it's Tony or who says it, but they drop a skinny wieners line and someone says skinny wieners. Not the only skinny wieners joke throughout the movie.
There's another one later. I have that written down.
A lot of skinny wiener insults in this movie.
Which is that an insult?
I mean, listen, not everyone
wiener.
wants.
So like, are you saying like a pencil?
A slender?
Are you saying
yeah?
Because if it's in shape, I don't see that as a diss.
So what you're saying is,
if
it's
you're like,
less.
Man, you got a skinny wiener. I'd be like,
listen,
thank you.
I know you used to have an overweight wiener.
Right.
You're in shape now.
Look at
so
it.
That's a compliment.
It looks fit.
Yeah. So that's a compliment about his wiener. Okay. So I misread that. I misread that.
That's how I took it.
Fair.
So what are your other favorite scenes or quotes?
I didn't have like necessarily a favorite like line from this, but when what would you say, the German,
Lars,
Count Lars,
yeah,
the whole body buddy system, I was dying laughing. It's
buddy!
So stupid. It's so stupid.
So I was a camp counselor at the Y.
Yeah.
When we swam in the pool, it was a buddy system, and we would yell. We wouldn't be as obnoxious, but we'd yell, buddy. And they had, in 10 seconds, had to be able to hold hands with their buddy. So the fact that they're even doing that, I'm like,
it's bringing back some nostalgia
pretty
for
spot
you.
on.
I was dying just at them doing it back and forth.
It is fun.
That one made me laugh hard. My notes are kind of scattered, so I'd have to skip them. But if you have yours organized,
I got them right now.
Okay.
So we already talked about you're fatter than I am. Why don't you go to camp?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm looking for several portly adolescents.
Mm-hmm.
And then Paul Feig, says when they're playing baseball, you can do it. Keep your eyes on the bat. Put in the pocket. Swing harder. I have no idea what I'm saying. I laughed so hard at that. And he's like backing away as he says it too. That one really got me.
Paul Feig was there. I have a favorite of his. Go ahead.
Okay. So I will give Ben Stiller credit for this one, actually, reluctantly. When Josh steps up on the scale and Tony immediately just goes, get off the scale.
Absolutely.
Get off the scale.
So I was going to get into that scene, but his is the final like button on that scene. I died at that.
It is.
Josh, get on the scale. Get off the scale.
Get off the scale. Get off the scale. And then finally, for the Apache relay at the end, the announcer says, welcome to the 33rd Apache Games. The favorites, Camp MVP, and the perennial losers, Camp Hope. I'm like, who wrote this? He's got to be reading off a card.
Yeah.
Who wrote this for him?
Yeah.
That seems harsh.
A little rough. Yeah, I enjoyed all those lines. The Paul Feig one. The other Paul Feig one I enjoyed was after they're all wiped out or hung over from the big food fest.
Yeah.
Pat says talks about how what have we all learned from this, and he says, "Isn't that right, Tim?" And he goes, "You're right. I'm ashamed of all of you." And he's all covered in chocolate. I had a good laugh at that too. He's great in this. I multiple times laughed at Paul Feig in this. Okay, so we're gonna get into our fun facts because there's the Josh giving the Seymour Butts line.
Yes.
Which is Seymour Butts call. And Tony says, who's Seymour Butts? And Josh lovingly replies, nobody's seen more butts than you, Uncle Tony. And that's when Josh disappears. Might you have a bit of trivia about that line, Jim?
I do. That is actually my is it racist and or problematic?
Yeah.
So
which I might be calling what's the problem? I'm trying to find a name
for
it. Yeah.
What's what's wrong with this picture? So I looked for it closely because I saw this trivia before I watched it.
Oh, okay.
And you can see that they dub it over.
Okay.
So his mouth actually does say Peter Fitz. And then Uncle Tony says, who's Peter Fitz? And Josh says, anyone's Peter Fitz if you push hard enough. But they changed it to be more family friendly, which I will say at first I was like, Peter Fitz, I don't even get what that means. And it took me way longer than I'd like to admit to be like, oh my.
Yeah. Oh, okay then. But they set you up with the skinny wiener joke, so it's not, listen, there's dick jokes already in here. Like
true.
Yeah, but when I read that
Peter Fitz.
That's
wow.
Yeah, that's a big swing.
Can we get into my other problematic one then?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it's at 37 minutes for those of you that want to watch this on Disney+.
Fast forward right now.
At the dance. The girls are deciding what they should do.
I know what you're saying, yes. Mm-hmm.
And they say, why don't those guys just lose weight? And then the other girl says, why don't you show them how to throw up after meals like you do?
Yeah.
And I went,
yeah.
My God.
Yeah, bulimia joke's rough.
Nothing compares to that. The rest of the movie.
That's the roughest joke in the movie, for sure.
When you're nitpicking fat jokes, I'm like, so buckle up, Nick. You're about to discover something way worse.
Yeah. So maybe that's the true hero of this movie is that, listen, you go in thinking it's just going to be a bunch of fat jokes. They're about to be all washed out because of this absolute bomb later.
You won't even see those fat jokes anymore.
And the fact is that was either such a prevalent or known thing for girls to do that was just an aside. It's just like,
right.
Like now thinking about that to that point is like, that's brutal. Yeah. Agreed.
The only other little problematic thing I have is that during the promotional video at the beginning, Pat, the counselor, throws a boy in the water, like off the blob, exposing no less than 90% of his butt crack.
I must have totally missed that.
It is not fully down to his thighs, but it is not far off.
Yeah.
I was like, this is why it took me so long to watch this movie, because I was pausing and admiring.
Yeah.
But also writing down like, okay, seriously, this kid's almost entire butt crack is revealed in a promotional video for a camp in a kid's movie.
Yeah.
Seems a little, maybe not. Maybe wouldn't make the cut today. Maybe
I think they
clean that up a bit.
Yeah. I'll get into some of my gripes later. I've already kind of touched on some of them, but
Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller, loved him.
Good.
He's the opposite of a gripe for me. So we get to the baseball scene.
Yes.
The catcher hits him with a couple of rough insults. A nice
Sure does.
nice swing tubbo. Don't blubber chubber. But Keenan absolutely annihilates him with hitting him in the stomach with the end of a baseball bat. So I enjoyed that.
That was good.
He gets his. That's just before Seymour Butts and our fun fact there. I also thoroughly enjoyed. So this is when Jerry, I think all the kids are they're freaking out. They want to get out of there. Jerry calls his parents and he's talking about all the things that aren't happening. And one of the things Jerry's dad says, "I did not send you to go-kart camp." And my reply is that, I mean, you kind of did. The video you saw, they're riding
there's
go-kart.
a go-kart.
So Dad,
You're the one denying it was a fat camp.
Like you watched the video, that was kind of the selling point, was like to trick him with all this, the go-karts. So, I mean, listen, I guess I get your point, but
Dad.
take it easy. The camp's got go-karts.
Also with the baseball game, since you just brought it up.
Yeah.
So Jerry gets beaned by an underhand pitch, by the way. So, I mean, also maybe tough it out a little bit. However, regardless, the opposing coach calls him a big baby. Not very nice.
Yeah.
And then tells him he's holding up the game. So I look to see, what is the score of the game that he's holding up? It's the 6th inning, and they're losing 61-0. Is he the one holding the game up? Or maybe stop hitting so many freaking home runs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at that point, slaughter rule has been in effect 3 times, 4 times over. So
several.
Even 6 possibly.
Even the score 61 runs. That's like an 8-hour game.
Yeah, that's a long game.
It's time to go to bed.
Yeah, let's be done with it.
Wrap it up.
I will say another small thing that I enjoy this movie is the absolute on the nose 90s fashion. You've got Jerry wearing a Fire Marshal Bill shirt. You've got Stussy hats, Adidas. Like I was like, I mean, if you want to talk about movies that bring you back, we've done other movies and you go, oh, look at this. This movie like brings
thrust
you
into the 90s.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Everything.
Right away.
So many of those things. I'm like, I would give me that Fire Marshal Bill shirt. I want that shirt.
Even Nicholas has a 94 World Cup shirt.
Yeah.
I believe that if not that exact shirt, it was like a short sleeve hoodie, which I don't even understand how that works. But I remember wearing it all the time.
Yeah.
Like 94 World Cup, man.
Great.
Let's do this.
There was some great fashion that really set the tone, like really nailed it. And because it's in the 90s, it's probably easy to nail. But watching it now, absolutely a treat.
They did great.
Yeah. And then after that, so that's my next note, was the young girl razzing about the bulimia joke. Oof. And I just wrote, oof. So then there's a scene where they sneak into the cabin and Tony is coming and they're trying to get out of the way. They're trying to get out of there before Tony comes in.
Yes.
They're pushing Nicholas out the window and he blasts Jerry with a fart in the face.
It happens.
Classic 90s fare.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
Yeah. And I did write this down, and probably much to your chagrin, I said Ben Stiller is a good villain. Listen,
he is. He's also in great shape.
Yes, I mean, and this is now at this point, he's now made it a point to be in good shape for multiple movies. It's like, okay, Ben Stiller, we get it.
Yeah,
you're funny and you're in good shape. What's bad about? There's
good
nothing.
Work. Just move it along.
We get. You
don't have to flaunt it.
We get the point. You're rich. Like everyone likes you. Yeah. And you're
does
still
everyone asterisk.
There's a lot of asterisks in here. And then that's when Tony. Yeah. And after that, Tony hits Josh with a "Get on the scale, son. Get off the scale."
Get off the scale.
Thoroughly enjoyed. Another movie with a good soundtrack and "I Want Candy" on it. I said in a different episode, Bow Wow Wow is making their money off of that song. They're crushing it.
It's almost in every movie.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's gonna be easier to pick out the movies it's not in. So then Tony decides they're gonna go on a 20-mile hike.
Yeah, it seems fair.
Yeah, and he regales them with the story of Icarus.
Yes, he messes it up.
What I read it as is that he's combined 2 different stories.
Correct.
Yeah, and not. He says Icarus rolls a rock up a hill. Right? Is that his version? Yeah.
Anytime you can point out a flaw in either Ben Stiller or something involving him, I'm all about.
Okay, fair.
But however, I will give him credit in that scene. He jumps out on a limb and is like twirling over the cliff.
Yeah.
One of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
If not my favorite, Sam.
Yeah.
He winks at girls throughout the movie. He has Banaka when one of the girls walks over during the dance. He has a hilarious quote about Josh.
Yeah.
And then when he goes out Tony goes out on the limb, he's like, "Come join me." And Sam's like, "Oh yeah, I'm right behind you." The delivery, everything about it. My God, Sam. So he also has one of the funniest lines, I think, when he's talking about where Josh is, when they're all like giving their theories on what happened to Josh, and they're in the lunch line, and he goes, "Now he's living in a park in New York with a guy that has no legs." And they're like, "Really? I'm just telling you what I heard." And he's so serious.
Yeah.
Like, his delivery is so spot on.
These are all good kid actors.
They're amazing.
Yeah,
I don't even know if they're acting.
No.
But it is so funny. He is so good in this movie.
Yeah.
Sam, you won my heart, my friend.
Well done, Sam. And that's when they hit Tony with the falling through the pile of leaves trap, another classic.
My question with that, where did that hole come from?
In the earth where they dug it.
Okay. And how did they get him out?
They didn't. They certainly did not.
He plummets to the bottom and then just goes, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that's rendered him unconscious.
Yeah. This is another similar to Blank Check where something happens as a bit of a joke, but really in reality you're like, oh, he's dead. That's where he'll be from now on.
To be honest, he looks slumped over.
Yeah.
I think he could have stood up and gotten out. He seems pretty fit.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
Maybe he's unconscious.
Yeah.
And then the next time you see him, he's in an electrified cage, just tied to a chair, strapped up. And like, oh.
Yeah, that checks
How
out.
much time passed? They ran 20 miles back. Okay, good for you guys.
Yeah.
When you're motivated, maybe you just need to be motivated.
That's true. All you need is
maybe
something.
indirectly he's solving their problems.
Yeah, listen, you either have to be the good guy you have to either be the bad guy who yells at you, or you're the reason to motivate people to want to get back at you. He's doing both, and it's working. And this is where they start to get back at everyone at the camp. They tie up Lars to a tree. They put honey on him.
Bears love honey.
Bears love honey. Fine.
They do.
Then Nicholas comes back, and Lars is elated because here comes Nicholas to save him.
Yeah.
And Nicholas absolutely obliterates his balls with a punch.
Yeah. He had it coming.
Nut shots are classic, but this one was especially poignant because his arms are tied, and he just has to
can't do anything about it.
And it's just he's such a little boy where just
great
right
punch.
spot on.
Great punch.
Oh, classic.
Way to go, Nicholas.
Way to go, Nicholas. Right on the nose, right on the money. And then we have Ben Stiller. He's in the electric fence again. Kids movies love an electric fence. You got the Wet Bandits. Like they love to see someone get electrocuted. It's there. Jurassic Park. Someone.
It's funny.
It's another. It's there for a reason because it's funny.
No one ever gets hurt.
No.
It's just like I'm temporarily.
You might see their bones, and their hair shoot up.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you're good.
Yeah. You'll bounce from it. A legitimate question I had is for the multiple candy and food scenes, who is bankrolling all these kids and all these pizza orders and all these hamburgers? I mean, listen, their food budget alone.
Pat, well, you see Pat going to the stump in the woods, so
True.
he's guilty.
So, that scene implies to me that none of them are in cahoots with each other. They're all separately.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's true. I think they must have just had it initially and brought it in.
They all got sent to camp with, here's your money for the summer, and they just went to town.
Good.
Yeah, fine.
Here's where I'm going to spend it.
Big
I have
food
several other unanswerable questions.
Sure.
Jerry Stiller, beginning of the camp, or beginning of the movie when he talks about how they're losing the camp. He says, one word of advice, don't let anyone sign your checks. And that apparently resulted in Chapter 9 bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So what happened? Who signed his checks? How did that result in being bankrupt?
Listen.
I just want to know there could be a Heavyweights 2.
Absolutely.
Where it's just the story of a
The
prequel.
camp.
Maybe a prequel.
Them
Yeah.
starting the camp.
And then
the beginning.
years. Yeah, the glory years. Maybe how Tim lost weight.
Sure.
And then
It's all
finding out
there.
about the bankruptcy.
It's all there.
Who started the tradition for the fat camp to compete against the sports camp in a relay race?
That seems like you would do that one time and be like, let's be done with this.
I don't even know if you do one time.
Even if for some reason it was a good idea once.
It's crazy mismatch. Let's just see what this will be hilarious.
Yeah,
and it's the 33rd
right
annual. It took you that long to go like, well,
okay, maybe next year we'll get them.
Guys,
Yeah.
this is in your wheelhouse.
Wait, is that camp MVP from last year and the 32 other years before this? Or is it a different one? Because I think they beat our asses every single time.
Year.
Yeah.
Also, their outfits are togas and Indians.
That was one of those I probably would
Greek and Native American. Are they?
You don't see those two mashed
Are they
together?
natural enemies?
Yeah. Well, in this battlefield there.
I did not.
Yeah.
I must have missed that day in history.
Yeah. And on a re-edit of this movie, I think that does not stay as the Apache relay with those outfits. I think
And
that gets changed.
Apache, fine. So you have
Yeah.
an Indian.
Yeah.
What? A cowboy. You
It's right
go
there.
togas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe the kids thought of it. It's hard to say.
Maybe.
This might be a Steamy McBoat situation.
Another question I have. So Sims is one of the where he goes, Sims, you're the largest kid
Yes.
in camp.
Mm-hmm.
He has nosebleeds like 4 different times throughout the movie.
Yeah.
What the hell is happening?
That seems like there's a sinister plot line to him at some point. Or
The
what's
nurse,
going on with
I
his
don't
life.
even remember the nurse's name.
Yeah, I know.
But
Julie?
I think Julie. But she's like tending to his wounds at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I think when he yells that Ben Stiller's coming, when
Yeah.
Tony's coming back to his cabin, I think he has a nosebleed there too.
Yeah.
Seriously, I counted 4+ nosebleeds, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening?
Some real serious health issues are going on.
And
He
this
needs to
is
leave
an
Camp
actor
Hope.
thing? Is
Yeah.
this in the movie, or was it just happening? Like,
That's
we'll
a choice
just
they're
leave
making
it.
for him.
I don't know. I feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
He needs to get checked out.
One of the counselors, he's a DJ with Lars. He shows Tony
Yep.
where the candy is hidden. He's like, oh, this
Yes.
used to be my bunk.
Yep.
I'm like, why does this kid look familiar? Do you know who he is?
No, but I'm waiting. I'm ready to get my mind blown.
Okay. I literally had to take a screenshot. I'm trying to Google image it because I'm like, who is this kid?
Yeah.
He's uncredited in heavyweights.
Oh, really?
Yes. I cannot find him anywhere. So I find him finally. He's Patrick Lebrec, or I'm probably butchering his last name. Whatever. He's French.
Yeah.
Apparently. He's in Beethoven and Rookie of the Year.
Yes. Yep.
I could not put I'm
No.
like, I know I've seen this kid in
That-
at least another movie.
That's what I felt with him. Like, I know I've
Who
seen him. I
is
don't know who
that?
he is.
Yes.
Mhm.
Really
Good
bothered
research.
me.
Well done to you.
Another trivia. Did you know that Judd Apatow showed this to Leslie Mann on their first date?
And it worked.
Well, it was his attempt to impress her.
That's great.
So my question is, would you show this movie to your potential wife on a first date?
Back in the 90s?
Yeah?
I wrote and
I mean, if you had a hand in it, I mean, it is funny.
Yeah. I said today, I don't think that date plans out today. It's nice because it worked out. That's not a note
It's a
that we
happy
would have,
story.
Yeah. We wouldn't have saw that trivia if that didn't work out.
And then I guess my final question is, how long was Tony locked up for in that cage? Because the kids have enough time to do a power walk. You see this montage of them like getting healthy on their own.
Right.
They do a power walk. They make a pasta primavera
Sure.
with Julie. The parents visit.
Yeah.
I don't know how long
A
it
week.
took for them to come.
I'd say that's a week.
So he's in there for a week.
Yeah. Because that can't all be like, unless it's like they locked him up on Thursday, they're doing the class on Friday, the parents come for the weekend. At least 3 or 4 days.
And does he have bathroom access? Clearly he hasn't showered.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I feel bad for him.
No.
Because I've made my opinions clear. I'm just
If anything, you should be elated by this. This should be
like,
your exact
at
scenario.
least 2 weeks, I hope.
Why not more?
I'm curious.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, and that's fair. A lot of good sped up, slowed down scenes with food. I think this is on the Mount Rushmore of movies, kids movies with food scenes. Hook with the bangerang. This movie's got a great slowed down, them in the field eating all the food in slow mo.
This one's funnier.
Yeah.
They're just like
absolutely.
you've seen them living it up.
Yes.
Like eating a giant sub sandwich, pizza,
Yeah.
whipped cream.
Yeah.
That had to have been the most
Yeah.
fun scene to film by far.
But when you think 90s kids movie or kids having a like their most fun, there's food usually involved. A big tub of ice cream, ordering their own pizza.
True.
There's always some scene where it's like, let's let loose. And
that
it's
should be
always
in more
food.
adult movies where they just go nuts.
Yeah.
Like,
And eat. Let me eat.
do that?
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like kids realizing, oh, we can be like adults.
Right.
My version of an adult is getting a big pizza and ice cream, which as an adult I've never done once.
No.
No.
I'm usually falling asleep by 9:24.
I've had a salad by 7. I meditate at 8, and I go to sleep at
I
8:30.
skip dinner. I have a bowl of cereal and I pass out on the couch.
There are times where I eat pizza and ice cream in the same bite in my mouth. So
As it should be.
I'm like,
for breakfast.
listen, kids, follow your dreams. You can be out of shape just like me. But that's the scene where Tim says, "I'm ashamed of you all."
I do wonder, they have fireworks in that scene.
Yes.
Where did the fireworks come from?
Again, this is a camp that has some kind of budget. I mean,
They got access to
Pat
things.
says he's like, he makes more, like they're getting paid. This isn't them doing this for free. So they've got somebody's, obviously you got Jerry Stiller who they're getting paid.
I didn't
There's
think
money
about
involved. Yeah.
So these counselors are dedicated.
Yes.
They're providing.
Pat's been there for 18 years.
Yep.
And obviously he does it for more than the money, but yeah, he's dedicated to the game.
They look like good fireworks. I just wonder what they spent.
Yeah. Between that and the food, they're dropping,
good
3 zeros at least.
I hope.
Then we get Nicholas coming to give Tony his food, and that's where Tony tricks him with the Hershey kiss.
Yeah. Gets me every time.
It gets me every time, for sure. And what I enjoyed most, which is a line I forgot, was when Tony's trying to lure Nicholas in, he says, "You've done a good job, Nicholas. Your queen would be proud." And for whatever reason, it just maybe because I wasn't expecting it.
Do you not think she'd be proud?
I listen, Jim, with that judgmental tone of your voice.
Because I think she would.
100%. I agree with the sentiment. I just didn't know that that's where he was going. And then when they bring all the parents in to show them Tony's gone off the rails, the park's in trouble. They add a nice little touch in the VHS tape they pop in, which is Josh eating the fake rat. Yeah, excellent. And even Pat says, like, I had a little drama. Yeah, it's great. And then this is where Tony breaks in and he said the villain was a bit over the top. Yeah, and he's touching on the nose.
A bit.
Yeah, he's leaning into it. He's addressing to everyone. I myself know, and that's the whole point. Mm-hmm. And that's what good acting is, Jim.
Is it?
Okay. So here's something that you probably very much enjoyed, and I did too, is so Tony goes up to Jerry's dad, gets punched in the stomach. Yeah. Jerry pops up.
I'm afraid you're wrong.
Gives him a Vulcan nerve pinch or like a chop on the neck.
I think so, yeah.
And then proceeds to do 10 to 15 backflips and wipe out so like comically hard. Yeah. And knock himself out. And I had a good hard laugh at that because it was such a comical wipeout that I didn't expect. I thought he'd just land it or stick it, and he's the reason that he loses is he just eats shit. I enjoyed that.
He deserved it.
Yeah, he had it coming.
And again, if he's been locked up 4 days,
I guess he's getting meals, but he popped up and did several backflips.
He did. The length of the mess hall.
Good shape, man.
Way to go.
Way to go, Tony. The program works.
Couldn't even do one backflip.
And just as you think, I've had enough Ben Stiller in this movie.
Oh, please, let's keep talking about him.
Here comes Papa Perkis to save the day. Which my note might be, maybe I could have done it with a scene at the beginning with Papa Perkis. I thought, give me maybe one more touch of him.
I thought it was good because then they show Tony in the car, like all sullen. Yep. So it was. Yeah. It's funny. It's funny.
It's fine. It's fine. And then we go to the Apache relay again. I think the scene changes in a new edit. At least at the very least, the headdresses will go. I'd have to imagine.
Nicholas pulls it off though.
Sure, he looks good,
and he's skipping with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it works.
At first, when that happens, when you see Nicholas skipping, I'm like, "What?" I think I said out loud, "Why is he skipping? He needs to pick up the pace." And then I saw the camp MVP guy. I was like, "Oh, okay, this is the part of the."
That's the skipping part.
Okay, it's the skipping.
I don't think he was just married,
getting cocky.
Yeah,
I was like, Nicholas, listen,
so.
You did.
This is not the time to get cocky, my friend.
So this is where, if we're going to talk about gripes with the movie, this was one I had.
Let's do it.
One of them at the very least.
Good.
So they start going through the competition. Camp MVP, full of mimbos, if you will. They're doing the athletic portions well. Then they get to the intelligent, the educational portions. They're not doing so well. The kid's not getting the answers right from Camp MVP, but he's still somehow moving on.
Yeah. Either yes.
Is it like you get 3 strikes, but still you'll get past?
So either listen to what the person next to you is saying, which I think he repeats one of Nicholas's answers, and then says share. Yeah, it's still wrong. Yeah. Way to go, guy.
So maybe at a certain point, it's like you could phone a friend. You get 3 wrong answers, and somebody else on your team helps. But I'm like, how is he still moving along here?
I wonder the same thing. Yeah. Either Nicholas is way too far ahead for him to catch up, or there's cheating afoot. Yeah. Or bribing. I don't know. How
could you imagine a world where Camp MVP would cheat? And Nicholas hits him with, "You Americans have no sense of history." And I said, "That's 100% accurate.
That's accurate.
It's funny because it's true."
He's naming our presidents. I'm like, is that
right? I gotta go. Okay. Nicholas, you're teaching me things. See, it's a movie that's funny and it's educational.
It is.
So then Camp Hope wins. The underdogs are the winners. Yeah. They dump, instead of ice, they dump a cooler that has no ice in it and only pop cans, which
That's got to be painful.
that had to hurt like hell.
I had so many notes that I took that out.
Yeah.
But I'm like, they're dumping a full cooler full of full beverages.
Yeah.
That is painful.
Yeah. Have you ever just lightly tossed a pop can and not caught it? Like, ooh, that might hurt.
Not
this
good.
is like
now
20
a bucket
pop-
of yeah. That's
fun or not, that had to hurt. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. And I had to say, it even buttoned the movie great with the song at the end, where it's the camp song and all the kids are singing and the counselors. I was like, why didn't more 90s movies do this, where they had the cast do a song at the end? I was like, that is fantastic. Like, if it's a movie like Mighty Ducks or these movies where you love the whole cast or you're enjoying the whole cast, that's like a perfect button. Now, I understand that this is a camp movie and there are camp songs at camp, so it kind of plays into it a bit more.
Think of
It's
40-Year-Old
so
Virgin.
Yeah. Yes.
Judd Apatow.
That has nothing to do with
boom,
anything. And
nothing.
And to your point,
it
with
works.
The Judd Apatow.
It always works. So
maybe that's where it just
end every movie with a
get
song.
the cast together, even if it doesn't make sense. Just get them together and be a little silly song and
I don't even
dance.
care what the song is.
Yeah, but I thought it was great, and it's on the soundtrack too. So you know what, you can enjoy it for the future. And then at the very end, you have Tony trying his next career, multi-level marketing. Mm-hmm. He's trying to sell crystals, and it's not going well. So sorry, Tony.
Sorry, I'm not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. I thought for casting, again, we talked about this, absolutely incredible.
Gold.
All heavy hitters. Everyone just crushes it.
Yep.
I didn't see a single bad performance.
No
notes. Nope. I was hoping to find some trivia with like, oh, they were trying to get this kid.
Yeah,
this
like
kid.
a casting, what
No,
they got who they wanted.
They got everyone,
including Sean
and they
Weiss.
strong-armed Goldberg.
But guess what?
Listen to me.
It paid off.
Listen to me. If you want to make D3, you're in this movie. Golly. Trivia, facts, and mythology. I think we really got through most of them, if not all of them.
Yeah.
My note was so there's a scene, evidently, that was cut, where Tony takes a bow and arrow, and it says it can be seen to the upper left corner when he collides into the wall and aims for the kids and Jerry's dad. But Disney cut the scene. The scene is available in the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray version. And so my note was, so Disney can cut scenes?
Right.
Start with blank check. I got number one for you. I got one scene you could cut. It'll take you 30 seconds and you'll save you some grief.
And so your problem is aiming an arrow at someone?
At the kid. Not the fact that when Josh goes to fart in his face, he actually like hits him.
Yeah. Like karate chops him in the thighs too.
Yeah.
Well,
we're okay there. Oh my.
What a good prank too.
Oh, a good old fart, and not just a fart in the face, an open butt fart, which is absolutely brutal.
Just face straight in the butt crack.
Yeah,
you can't recover from that. That smell is never going to go away. That's right in your nose.
Absolutely brutal. On the Blu-ray commentary, Judd Apatow stated that he once ran into Paul Thomas Anderson.
Okay.
And he told Judd that he loves heavyweights. There's a reason for it. So now we get to, is it problematic? You touched on your gripes of the movie.
Yeah.
My first line in Is It Problematic is absolutely it's problematic. The whole premise of the movie is problematic. Now, there's fat jokes aplenty. There's a bulimia joke. Tony karate chops Josh, but as an adult hitting a kid, you could be hung up on that. And the Apache relay, not 100% sensitive.
See, I'm going to disagree a little with you.
Okay.
I don't think the premise is problematic because of how they do it.
Well, so that's what I was going to say. That I think on paper, it's like, here's the fat camp with fat kids.
Right.
And to our point, and I know I talk about blank check a lot, there is a movie that in premise, you can see like a premise and then the actual movie being made and how you can screw up a movie.
Yeah.
This movie in the wrong hands is brutal.
Totally.
Is brutal.
I think they bring light to the right spots. Like they're never making fun of one individual kid or their appearance.
Right.
And they talk about that a lot. Like, I just wish I was skinny like them. Like, well, what does it matter if like Pat and Jerry had that moment?
He's the savior.
Where he's like, would you rather be skinny or be a nice person?
Yes.
And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
How about we just kick their ass anyway?
Right, exactly.
And I'll be amazing.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. To that point, this script could have been handed off not written by Judd Apatow.
Right.
Or it could have been a real, and that's what I was kind of thinking. I didn't look at the Judd Apatow part. I didn't remember much about it.
Well, because when we watched as a kid, Judd Apatow was not a name, nor would we have cared even if he was. I'm not looking at directors of kids movies.
Oh, Freaks and Geeks? He did
right.
this movie? Oh, okay.
Right.
A show I've never watched? Perfect.
But it's amazing that later on he's becoming...
So, and I was like, if someone had a problem with this movie and they're like, listen, like it's too much of too many easy fat jokes, too many things that are like to me, I'm sensitive about this and I can't get past that. You can take this cast, make it just the kids are going to a summer camp, lose the fat jokes, which I know are a vehicle for some of it.
Yeah.
And it's
still
you
funny
could call
movie.
it Camp Hope. It's absolutely the kids are outcasts. They're being made fun of by other kids for these reasons. But I still think in the 90s there's gonna be there's gonna be some of those tropes just because that's when that movie was made. But I think this movie is still like you probably cut a little bit of this movie to save some of that, and it would still be a perfect kids movie.
I think this is why I liked it. It's a funny movie because it's a funny movie.
Yes.
It's not just a funny movie because it's fat jokes or
Exactly.
because it's whatever. That all works.
Yes.
And they do a masterful job, I think, of blending that and not exploiting it.
Yes.
But that's not why the movie's funny.
Right.
The actors are hilarious.
That's what I
the delivery, all of that.
Yeah.
So I was so pleasantly surprised that I'm like, wow.
It was so much more lovable than I anticipated.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
I did not expect to like this movie as much as I did. Between the cast, between how, like you said, the message that is there of just loving yourself and screw everyone else and they're all jerks and we're gonna get our revenge. It is really a solid kids movie.
Yep.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So that's where I go to, is this movie appropriately rated? I said, I don't think it is. I think they got dogged. 27% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think is brutal.
I think so too.
We've watched much worse movies. They
Far
got
worse.
much better ratings.
Far worse.
Yeah. So I think this movie but the IMDb is higher, but it's only 60%. So, and most of the reviews, when I was looking at some of user reviews, weren't it was people being like, oh, this is just Ben Stiller and the dodgeball character. And I was like, that's what you're getting hung up on? Like that?
I mean, that part is true.
Absolutely.
But there's so much more of a movie to it.
So most of, I saw time after time people saying that's their gripe with this movie. I was like, there's a whole, Tony is a part of this movie, and I think a big part that people remember from this movie is probably Tony Perkis. But this movie is still good with somebody instead of Ben Stiller as Tony Perkis, or even if you had a different bad guy, the whole rest of the movie could still work pretty well.
So if this was ice skating, you take off a few technical points because someone slipped up a bit.
Yeah.
Everything else is really good.
Yeah.
So fine, dock it half a point for that.
Yeah.
This still deserves to be at least a 7 on IMDb, I think.
That, or even if you leave IMDb's rating, Rotten Tomatoes, get yourself together. 29%.
Get it up
brutal.
there. Yeah.
So
give me at least a C-.
That's passing. So yeah, that's it. That's all the notes I had.
Will I have some more, Nick?
That just
Dead or alive?
No.
Dead or alive? All right. So some of this you're gonna know. It's cheating.
Maybe.
You're gonna know this. You're gonna know because you know. Harvey and Alice Bushkin, Jerry Stiller, and Ann Mira.
Yeah.
Dead or alive?
They're dead.
Both of them.
Rest in peace.
Jerry Stiller in 2020, he was 92.
Mm-hmm.
And 2015 at 85, both dead.
Yeah.
So those are 2 freebies that you get,
fine.
okay?
That's
so
just 'cause
would you
like
quit your belly aching? Lars, his real name is Tom Hodges.
He's alive.
Yes, he is alive. Good work.
Is he German, though?
No, I think he grew up in Illinois, I thought I saw.
Perfect.
Not that he can't be German and live in Illinois. I'm just saying.
True.
All right. Sam, Joseph Wayne Miller.
You just gave me an alive, so I'm just gonna put it out there and say he is passed. He is removed from this mortal coil.
Yeah. It's really depressing.
Yeah.
Judd Apatow actually wrote a huge glowing thing about him for his obituary.
Really?
Was he was the heart and soul of the movie. He was a joy to be on set with.
Yeah.
Everyone loved him. This whole thing. There were articles everywhere when he died about how much everyone loved him.
Wow.
I'm like, for a kids movie that apparently no one liked at the time.
Yeah.
They are really giving it to this kid. So
Yeah.
way to go, Sam. He
Yeah.
died at 36 in his sleep.
That is way
36.
too young.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And he was seriously my favorite
Yeah.
character in this movie. Ugh.
Yeah.
You knocked it out of the park, Sam.
Yeah.
Way to go, Sammy.
Way to go, Sam.
All right, Julie, Leah Lale.
Alive. Excuse you.
She's alive. You look at
100%.
For some you don't like.
100%.
Oh,
You know what?
totally redeem yourself.
You know you got F plus.
Click. I have one more note.
Okay.
Things that went over my head when I watched as a kid.
Oh, see, this is gonna be a good segment for you because you can remember those things. I don't remember shit. So
Good.
Please.
Do it to it, Lars. Do you remember people saying that?
Like, was that something a lot of people said after
Yeah.
the movie? Oh, I do not remember.
People would be
that.
like, "Hey, do it to it, Lars.
Oh,
Go for
okay.
it." Ben Stiller says in the movie, and I audibly gasped. I went, "Oh, is that where that's
Yeah.
from?"
Do it to it. Lars.
Everyone's saying "Do it to it, Lars."
Yeah.
I assumed it was a Lars from like an SNL skit.
Yeah. Hans and Franz or something like that. Yeah.
No,
Yeah. Do it to it,
idiot
Lars.
Jim. It's from Heavyweight.
Well,